Everyone told me the same thing. Get rid of it before something terrible happens. 3 neighbors said it. 2 vets refused to see it. 1 person called the authorities. I kept it anyway. And yes, something terrible did happen. Several terrible things happened actually. But the last thing that happened was not terrible at all. It was the opposite of that. That moment is why I'm still here telling you this story instead of agreeing with everyone. We start 6 weeks ago, and before I understood what I was actually dealing with completely, the egg arrived in a heat-resistant black container with warnings printed on every single visible side. Dark matte shell, almost perfectly black, with faint orange cracks running across the surface like embers. It radiated warmth from 3 feet away. Not uncomfortable warmth, the kind that makes you stay close. It hatched at midnight without any warning sounds. One moment intact. Next moment Houndoom was simply there. Small, ink-black fur still damp from hatching. 2 curved cream-colored horns already present on the skull. Long pointed tail with distinctive triangular tip. 4 paws with sharp curved claws already fully formed. Those eyes. Orange-red irises that caught the low light and made the room feel slightly smaller. It looked at me for 11 full seconds without moving. I did not move either. Neither blinked. Then it sneezed. A small flame came out. It looked at the flame with genuine personal surprise. That surprised expression lasted exactly 2 seconds before the look hardened back into something older and colder. That transition, surprise to cold, I would see it 43 more times over 6 weeks. The habitat needed to be fireproof. That was not optional. That was the entire first design requirement. Zone 1 is a heat den. Slate tiles, black stone walls, temperature controlled to 38 degrees. Zone 2 is an outdoor run section with reinforced fireproof fencing, unpacked earth floor, no flammable materials. Zone 3 is a cooling station. Low water feature, smooth cool stone slabs, shade overhead always. The cooling station turned out to matter more than I originally understood when I designed it. Much more. Food testing began on day 3, when it finally accepted that I was not going away anytime soon. Raw meat first. Houndoom approached it slowly, sniffed once, and ate with complete mechanical efficiency. 0 reaction. Cooked meat second. It stopped. Circled the bowl twice. Ate it faster than the raw version somehow. Dried berries, third. Houndoom sniffed them. Looked at me with an expression of profound professional disappointment. Walked away. Spicy peppers fourth. Seemed appropriate given the fire type. Houndoom ate them like they were nothing special. 5th food was a warm, sweet bread roll placed carefully near the zone, 1 entrance on slate. Houndoom approached it slowly. Sniffed it for a long time. Something in the expression changed briefly and softly. It took 1 careful bite. Then something shifted internally and a small flame escaped from its mouth. The bread roll caught fire. Houndoom stared at the burning bread with that same surprised expression again. 2 seconds. Then the cold look returned. It walked back to the den without eating another bite. That was the quirk establishing itself for the first time, and I didn't fully understand it yet. Week 2 started with the first battle attempt, and I should have waited at least 1 more week. The opponent was a local trainer's Growleith. Fire type, friendly, well-trained, used to sparring regularly without incident. Houndoom stood at the boundary and did not move for the first 40 seconds of the battle. Growleith approached cautiously. Houndoom watched it come. Still no movement. No aggression. No readiness. Just watching completely. Growleith barked once in greeting the way trained Pokémon sometimes do before a friendly sparring match begins. Houndoom flinched. Not from fear. From something that looked much more complicated and harder to name than fear. Then the cold look arrived, and Houndoom fired a dark pulse that ended the match in 4 seconds. Growleith was fine. Shaken, but fine. Its trainer was not fine. 3 people nearby were not fine either. I was fine. I was the only one present who thought this was salvageable. Everyone disagreed loudly. This is the part where I started keeping a written record of every interaction and every response. Day 15. Houndoom ate from my hand for the first time without testing whether I would flinch. Day 18. It followed me to the cooling station and sat on the stone slab nearby watching. Day 20. When I sat next to it on the stone, it did not move away. Progress. Day 22. I woke up at 2 in the morning and it was sitting outside my door, not scratching. I'm not making noise, just sitting there in the dark hallway waiting for something unspecified entirely. I sat down on the floor next to it at 2 in the morning and said nothing. We sat there for 40 minutes. Then it went back to the den. I went back to bed. I wrote in my notes. It came to find me. That is not what a dangerous animal does. Week 4 brought the crisis, and I should tell you it was entirely my mistake that caused it. A visiting friend didn't know the rules. I reached over the habitat fence to pet it without asking permission. Houndoom pulled back. Friend reached further. Standard mistake made by people who don't understand what they are seeing. The flame that came out was not aimed. It was not controlled. It was pure, overwhelmed emotion escaping. Friend's jacket sleeve caught. Nobody was hurt. Jacket was destroyed. Friend left immediately and called it aggressive and dangerous. Houndoom sat in the corner of the heat den for 6 hours after the incident. Would not move. Not angry. Not aggressive. Just still in the way that something becomes still when it has given up expecting anything different. I sat outside the habitat for those 6 hours. Did not speak. Did not leave. Just stayed present. On hour 7, it walked to the habitat edge closest to where I was sitting outside. It lay down with its back against the mesh closest to me and closed its eyes. And I wrote one thing in my notes that night. It knows the difference between the ones who stay. The formal complaint arrived from 2 neighbors the following week, along with a demand to remove the Pokémon. I went to each neighbor, explained the training record, explained the incident, explained that nobody was actually hurt. First neighbor said the risk was unacceptable regardless of intent, and I had no legitimate counter-argument for that. Second neighbor asked one question, or has it ever aimed at you deliberately? I said no, not once. She thought about that for a while, then said she would wait and see before filing anything formal. The tournament was not my idea. A local Pokémon trainer community held open brackets for any registered Pokémon. I registered Houndoom because I wanted one documented public moment that showed a different version of the story. The bracket paired us first against a Rapidash. Fire type, composed, experienced, irradiating the confidence of many wins. Houndoom stood at the battle boundary and went through the same 40-second stillness from the first battle. Rapidash waited calmly. The crowd went quiet because they had heard about Houndoom before coming to this tournament. Then Houndoom moved. Not a charge, not aggression. A series of precise controlled movements that covered ground efficiently. The dark pulse it used was contained, targeted, and nothing like the uncontrolled burst from the jacket incident. Rapidash countered with a fire spin. Houndoom stepped sideways through it with a speed that surprised everyone watching. Second dark pulse. Rapidash hit the boundary. Match over. The crowd made a sound that was not clapping yet. Second match was against a Charizard with type disadvantage working entirely against us from the opening moment. Houndoom looked at the Charizard for a long time before the battle started. Size differential was significant and obvious. Then it did something I had not seen before. It looked back at me once. Direct eye contact. 2 seconds. Then it turned back to the Charizard, and the cold look was not cold anymore. It was focused in a different way. The kind of focus that comes from having something worth proving specifically. The battle lasted 4 minutes and 11 seconds. The Charizard's trainer shook my hand afterward without being asked. Walking back from that tournament, Houndoom stayed close to my left side the entire distance home. Not trained behavior, not commanded position, just a choice it made about where it wanted to walk. We passed a food cart selling warm, sweet bread rolls. I bought one without fully thinking about the choice. I held it out. Houndoom looked at it for a long time with that complicated expression again. It took the bread carefully, ate it slowly. No flame came out this time. Not even a small one. Just Houndoom, warm bread, and a quiet walk home through the evening without anything catching fire at all. Everyone told me to get rid of it before something terrible happened, and they were not wrong to worry. It burned things. It frightened people. It sat alone in corners after being too much for anyone. It became the Pokémon that looked back at me once before a hard fight and then won it. The most dangerous thing you can raise is something nobody ever stayed for long enough to see clearly. Yeah, tonight it is sleeping on the cool stone slab nearest the habitat wall closest to my room. I bought another warm bread roll and left it near the den entrance before I went to sleep. In the morning, it was gone. Nothing was on fire. I counted that as a very good day.